Our story begins with Varvatos, a human who's grown so powerful that the rest of humankind began calling him the Demon Lord. Many grew to see him as a monster, both fearing and respecting his overwhelming influence as such. Barbados feels alienated from his fellow humans, hoping his fate will change in his next life. He decides to reincarnate 3,000 years later as an average 10-year-old child named Ardmore Meteor, the son of a seemingly ordinary couple from the countryside. Unfortunately, the study of magic has declined significantly since his life as Varvatos. So while his powers in this new life would be considered average in the past, his strength still overshadows everyone in this new era. But despite being a genius, Mage Ard proves himself to be just as socially inept as anime fans. All the children he tries to befriend simply run away from him because he comes off as too creepy. But on one particular day, Art comes across a young elf girl named Arina, fighting a wolf in the forest, and after watching the girl slay the beast, Art tries to strike up a conversation with her, but everything he says just seems to scare her off more and more as such. He decides to bluntly ask her to be his friend, but she refuses and runs away right into the arms of her father, Alhide, who just so happens to be great friends with Ard's parents. Seeing this, Art believes that Arina and him are destined to become great friends just like their parents, which leads him to try to befriend her over and over again, but is unfortunately always met with rejection. After some time passes, a large group of goblins suddenly invade the city and begin attacking Art's father, and Alhide fend off the goblins, while Art goes in search of Arina, who has still not yet returned from the mountains. Both men are shocked to see Art using a flight spell, as this is considered one of the many lost skills meanwhile. As Arina is surrounded by goblins, she thinks back to how she was bullied and betrayed by her old friends, and how life just isn't worth it anymore. She drops her weapon to the ground and tells the goblins that they can just kill her. Right as Arina accepts her fate, Art arrives and eliminates the goblins in a matter of seconds. With just a couple of spells, he then promises Arina that if she'll be his friend, he'll stay by her side forever, and Arina finally accepts his friendship. Several years later, a fully grown Arina surprises Art by getting in bed with him and suggests that they enroll in the Academy of Magic together. Once they arrive at the academy, Headmaster Gold immediately enrolls Art and Arina, as they are the children of the three great heroes, Alhide. And Ard's parents' Art had no idea that his parents were actually legendary heroes who once slew an evil god. This draws a lot of unwanted attention to Art, who just wants to live a simple life as a nobody later on in class. Both Art and Arina are bombarded by students who want to be their friends and learn from them. Suddenly, they witness a young succubus named Ginny being bullied by Geraldo, the son of a noble family who claims that Jenny is his property, because she is inferior to him. Then steps in and demands that the girl be treated fairly and that Geraldo apologize to her. This leads to Elrado proposing a duel between them to settle the matter while boasting about his lineage. Just then, their teacher Olivia enters the room. Art immediately recognizes her as one of his generals from his previous life, and hopes that she doesn't notice that he's actually the reincarnated Demon Lord. Intrigued by Art finds that Elrado has been using common spells, but has given them impressive names to make himself seem greater than he is. This irritates Art, who decides to show Geraldo what truly powerful magic really looks like, leaving Elrado completely outmatched, and with no choice but to surrender and apologize. Unfortunately, in his frustration, Art had completely forgotten about Olivia, who soon asks him how he was able to cast two powerful spells at once. Flustered, Olivia decides to oversee the duel between him and Elrado, much to Art's displeasure. Ard claims that double casting is an easy skill for anyone to master, but Olivia disputes this, saying that no one in the modern era can still perform it. Olivia backs off, saying she will find out the truth about him soon enough. The following day, Olivia sends the class on a monster hunt in a dungeon, which inspires Art and Arina to team up with Ginny. However, because of years of Geraldo's bullying, Ginny severely lacks confidence, and feels as though she is only keeping Art and Arina back to give her some confidence boost, and prove that she is not worthless. Ard teaches her script magic, a long-lost ability he developed in a past life that speeds up the casting of spells. Ginny picks it up pretty quickly, but the three of them fall through a trap door and confront the formidable Minotaur boss of the dungeon. The girls are scared, but he uses the moment to teach the girls more about script magic with the boss, by blocking the creature's attack with a single finger. Nearly dead Art exhorts Ginny to kill him, in the hopes that it will give her more self-assurance. As Jenny uses her script magic to clap the Minotaur on the cheeks after defeating him, she remembers how she once hoped that someone like the demon lord Valvatos would save her. After coming back to the surface, Ginny feels proud of herself for the first time and is glad to have made 2 new friends. Art tries to leave, but Olivia stops him, saying she wants to talk to him for a long time. In reality, though, she just drags him to Headmaster Gold, who asks him to take part in an academy duel event to impress the Queen. Art declines because he doesn't want to draw attention to himself anymore. Later that day, a student confesses her love to Art, something he notes has been happening a lot lately, but the student is quickly scared off by a jealous Arina. At night, Ginny visits Art alone in his room and tries to seduce him with her succubus powers. She informs him that she thinks a man as amazing as Art should have his own harem of wives, but that she would still like to be the first. Purina arrives moments later with the intention to seduce Art as well, but becomes angry when she sees that Ginny beat her to it. The 2 girls argue, and eventually decide to duel over Art, but he forbids them from doing so, and forces them to apologize to one another. Unfortunately, Professor Jessica enters the room shortly after, and convinces the girls to join the Academy's duel event in order to fight over Art. This gets the girls fired up, who are both eager to show Art what they're capable of. At the duel event, Art is embarrassed by his parents and Arina's father, who happen to be the judges of the competition as the competition begins. Art prays that Arina and Jenny both lose, since he doesn't want to see them fight. However, both Arina and Ginny easily win their matches against other students, thanks to Art's teachings, and quickly reach the finals where they can finally fight for Artie's heart. But before their duel begins, demon cultists appear in the audience and begin attacking the stadium. After stabbing Arina's father in the back, Professor Jessica reveals that she is actually Elsa the Dragon King, and that their entire scheme was to abduct Arina. In spite of their rivalry for Ard's affection, Ginny tries to shield Arina, but she suffers damage in the process and is powerless to stop Elzert from kidnapping her friend. Arina's father awakens in the school hospital following Ard's healing and discloses that Elzert has taken Arina. Ard reassures him that he'll rescue Arina from Elzard and destroy any other force that would stand in his way. Meanwhile, Elzard prepares to sacrifice Arina to a monster called the Orphan of Chaos as part of a ritual to summon an evil god and destroy the world that she hates. After gearing up and promising Ginny that he'll save Arina, Art arrives to Elzard's hideout, just in time to kill the Orphan of Chaos before a Canadian Arina, and continues his rampage by slaying Elzard's followers, as well desperate. Elzard tries to turn Art against the Arina by revealing that Arina's family are actually descendants of the evil gods, but Ard doesn't care in light of this. Elzard casts a lightning spell against Ard, who simply nullifies it with his spear and impales Elzard. However, she reverts to her true dragon form and attacks again by firing a purple laser spell towards Ard, who defends against it with his magical barrier Ordi, then asks Arina to look away before summoning an apparition of Lydia, his lover in his past life, to fight by his side as he reverts back to his Varvatos form. Following this, Ard defeats Elzard with his Ultimum Zero spell and ensures that Elzard is truly dead this time. After that, Lydia vanishes and the artwork resumes as they head back home. A young girl named Sophie emerges from a dungeon after training for 3 years, and she discovers that everything has changed. A masked man tells her that time moves differently in that specific dungeon, so while she was inside, 3,000 years had passed. He then reveals to Sylphie that her sister Lydia and the demon lord Varvatos both died long ago, but that Varvatos' soul has reincarnated into Ard Meteor. Arina is a little scared by Ard's overwhelming strength, but she praises him and promises to someday become strong enough to fight by his side. Olivia, who knew Sylphie 3,000 years ago, is very interested in Sophie's claims, and when Art is swiftly and effortlessly challenged to a duel, it is revealed at the Academy that a festival will soon be held that will include a stage performance that Gold wants Art to perform, and Sylvie arrives at the Academy moments later and confronts Art about his reincarnation and about what happened to her sister Lydia, but Art feigns ignorance. Victorious Sylphie loses her temper and summons a powerful sword, which negatively affects their classmates. This leads Arina to scold Sylphie, who begins to cry, as Arina reminds her of Lydia when they return to class. They decide that the stage performance for the festival should be about the life of Varvatos, with Ard playing Varvatos Arina, playing Lydia and Sylphie, playing the evil god for their class project. However, they decide to host a maid cafe with the maids in very risque outfits designed by Ginny. The other girls in class initially refuse to wear these outfits, but quickly change their minds after learning that they'll be able to serve hard and potentially seduce him too. Meanwhile, the masked man from earlier watches all of this unfold and is looking forward to how Sylphie will react when she learns what really happened 3,000 years ago on the day of the festival. Sylphie causes chaos and is sent to help out at the maid cafe. Instead, however, she continues to cause chaos there as well, and Ard is forced to clean up after her mess later. Ard comes across in a tree rumored to contain an item sealed by the Great Sword. King Olivia then discloses that, defying his wishes, she entered both the Great Sword King tournament and the art world. The tournament's prize is a duplicate of the Great Sword King's weapon, Valve Galgus, which was originally Lydia's. Olivia, Arina, Ard, Sylphie, and Ginny all emerge victorious from their respective tournament duels and move on to become finalists before the final duels. However, Ginny asks Art to compete with her in a boy and girl beauty contest. There, Ard surprisingly spots Iraldo, who confesses that he and Jenny were friends when they were younger, but that his father taught him that anyone that wasn't nobility was inferior, which led to him bullying her. Art plans to apologize to Ginny one day in the hopes that she will accept his forgiveness. Ginny then goes on to win the beauty contest, which enrages Arina, who also wanted to compete with Ard. Once the tournament finals commence, Ard is forced to face Olivia, who tries to force him to reveal his true power, but Art refuses and inadvertently blasts Olivia far away. Later that day, as the actresses and actors wave to the audience, Ard discovers that this stage performance is based on a battle he fought in his past life, which he won thanks to Sophie setting magical traps on the battlefield and taking the enemy commander's sword demise Argus for herself. Meanwhile, Arina duels Ginny and eventually wins after a close match. When Sophie recognizes someone who appears to be Lydia, it's not Lydia. The mysterious masked man then approaches her the next day. A very serious Sylphie wins her final match against Arina and becomes the tournament's winner, an accomplishment which grants her the Valve. Galva's sword replica later that night. Ard meets Sylphie with Ginny and Arina secretly watching from afar. Sylphie, with glowing red eyes, vows to kill Art, and then reveals that the replica of the sword Valve Galgis is in fact the real one, and the item sealed inside the tree is its power source by combining the two. She is able to rebuild the completed Valve Galgus, and then proceeds to also summon her demise Arga's sword, which powers her up and changes her outfit Sylphie, then immediately attacks Ard, as the masked man joyfully watches all of this unfold. It's then revealed that the masked man plays Sylphie under mind control and showed her a memory of Art murdering Lydia. Both Arina and Ginny try and stop Sylphie, but their efforts are futile. Art has no choice but to revert to his Varvatos form to defend against Sylphie's attacks, but when she begins to hear Lydia's voice, the mind control is broken, and she calms down. Disappointed that his plan failed, the masked man takes matters into his own hands and retrieves the two swords. He then attempts to kill Art himself, but the two swords reject him, as he is not powerful enough to wield them. So Art uses this opportunity to end the man's life. As the fighting comes to an end, the spirit of Lydia is shown to inhabit the demise Argus sword and tells Sylphie that her death was not Art's fault, and urges her to focus on living a full life. Rather than trying to avenge her before disappearing, she calls Art an idiot, which doesn't surprise him at all. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you all again in the next one.